Single-use plastic has increased drastically since the beginning of the pandemic. So to talk to us about this issue and to find out what we can do about it, today I'm talking to Professor Orlando Rojas from UBC. Now, we've all seen masks on the ground outside of the grocery store, gloves on the ground. How bad has the problem gotten in the last year?
Yeah, thanks, Camila, for the question. Yeah, this is a huge problem, actually. This is already known, in fact, as far as the way we use plastics today. And the topic of microplastics in the water streams has become extremely popular and have grabbed the attention of many people, right? Now, the use of masks and the improper disposal of masks is just exacerbating such types of problems. So we have been looking into, for instance, water treatment facilities and talking to people, and this is already a known fact. The polypropylene-based masks that we use today and will continue to be used is really creating or are creating a problem that is already seen in those treatment facilities. And then if we start to think or look into the water streams, the oceans, then of course, this is going to be just bigger than what we had before. So this is a major issue and we need to do something about it.
Now, you said improper disposal of masks. How would we properly dispose of a mask?
Right, this is an issue, right? I mean, the masks are pretty much, we could consider those as a single-use plastics. It's made from polypropylene, it's a plastic, and we use it for given time, and then we usually dispose them. So it should go to the garbage and then therefore to the landfill. In the landfill, of course, already presents or poses a problem because that's an issue. In some hospitals and health centers, then those masks can be burned, can be incinerated, right? So these are the two typical ways. But if we don't do any of the two, then of course they will be ending up on the ground and on the water stream. So I think this is an issue that we need to think about as a society. But beyond that, looking at the end of life of the material, it is obvious that here we are dealing with a polymer that is not really biodegradable. It stays for hundreds of years, and that really poses environmental pressure. And for that reason, we have been thinking about this idea of using cellulosic natural fibers that are fully biodegradable. It's a completely different proposition as far as value proposition and also the way the materials is handled and the end of life of the material.
And talk to us about these masks that you have been developing, because they are locally sourced in Canada and they are hopefully a solution to these plastic-based masks.
Yeah, the idea is extremely simple. It's like producing paper, or let's imagine coffee filters that are produced from paper. And those papers are at the same time put together from cellulosic fibers. Cellulosic fibers come from plants, for instance, from wood, from trees. So using the same concept, we can extract vegetable fibers that are put together by very simple process that use just water. So they are very environmentally conscious processes. And then we create a material that goes beyond paper in the sense that we need to design in such a way that is also porous and allows for us to have air going in and out, but at the same time to capture the virus particles. So this is where the engineering and technology comes to play. It's a very simple concept. It's like making paper, but we add some other layers from the technical point of view, in the sense that we make the material such that it can perform to the level of a polypropylene mask. So that's basically the idea. And those masks that are now made from cellulosic fibers are fully biodegradable at the end of its life. And this is really a major issue. Then there are many other connotations, how we feel with the touch, how they feel on our faces, etc., etc. But I think from the point of view of the environmental impact, there is a clear differentiation between cellulose-based masks compared to polypropylene types.
And if you compare them to an N95 masks or the blue filter masks that we use right now, how effective are they?
Right, so far what we have done is prototyping these masks in the lab, and we are already reaching some partnerships to start to go deeper, and in some months, I hope we can see this in the market. And many other centers are looking into the same issue, right? Because it's so obvious, right, that we can use this type of material. So far, we are at the state where the performance matches that of surgical masks. For looking into N95 type, we have a higher filtration efficiency standards, and that means that we need to play with the material in such a way to improve it further. And there are many aspects to this. So I don't know if I should be a little bit technical here, but essentially what we need to have is a mask that not only has the right pore size and permeability, but also is able to trap the particles by electrostatic, but so to say, by electrical means. And that means that we need to engineer the material in a more profound, more detailed ways. So N95 is the goal, and that goal should be achieved, but that requires a little bit of technological development. At this point, we're at the surgical mask type of stage.
And I think one of the reasons why single-use plastics and these reusable surgical masks have gone up is because they are cheaper. And we do have to acknowledge that a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are in precarious financial situations. Would these new technological masks that are environmentally friendly cost more? Would they just be accessible to regular public?
Yeah, the cost structure depends on many different factors: supply, production, right? And also the economy of scale. So there are many factors to it. But if we, for a moment, assume the cost of producing paper, this is similar. It's a very similar process. So I can envision that the cost will be quite competitive compared to the PPs, the PP or polypropylene-based mask that we see today. So in that sense, I think there is a winning case here. Of course, there are many aspects to the price that we need to consider, including marketing and many other things. But look at the prices now of the polypropylene mask. Actually, they have gone up. And of course, they are fluctuating, depends on the demand. But in general, I would say that it's quite cost competitive. But the most important thing coming out from COVID is the fact that we have a society now that is more and more conscious about the environment and sustainability. And this is really the time for us to introduce these types of concepts that go beyond the mask. It's not only the mask. The mask is just the tip of the iceberg. It's to see the idea that using natural renewable materials, we can find many solutions to our materials needs. And this is the beauty of this can mask concept. And that's why I call it concept. It goes beyond the material itself. It's the idea of looking into sustainability and the solutions that we have around us to have a better or to create a better environment.
And the public's awareness about this issue was actually where my next question was leading to, because I think the pandemic has really taken away the focus of a lot of issues, unfortunately. We don't hear about cancer, we don't hear about foundations, we don't hear about the environment. Do you find that financially and publicly the support is less for environmental issues?
I think from the COVID and from our own experience during this time, I think the interest is very high, actually. There are a lot of people that are reaching out to us with interest, investors, startups, companies looking into this same issue. In many cases, of course, there is a monetary incentive, right? There is really a value proposition that is quite interesting from the economic point of view. But in general, I would say that there is always this conscious that we are creating about having an environmental, a positive environmental impact. I would say that this has increased with COVID. Society has become more united in such fronts. And this is definitely that the new generation is actually looking into these type of things. Now we're going to go to the market and we're going to really read the standards, and we're looking into the metrics of sustainability, end of life, the degradability of the materials, and end of life, of course, as I said before, of the material. So this will become more and more relevant. I would say that if there is anything that is positive after COVID time, is the fact that we are uniting these type of concepts, and society becomes more aware about sustainability issues.
And as the masks aren't available yet, what advice or what suggestions would you give to our viewers right now on how to stay safe during the pandemic but not harm the environment?
Yeah, well, I'm not a medical doctor to give advice, and there are a lot of different types of advices that you can find. But in general, of course, you have to look into, your breathing, and some masks and some things that we put on the face are really very uncomfortable, right? In the sense that probably are not the proper materials. So in that sense, this is a responsibility of those that design those masks to make materials that are really performing the way it should be. They should allow us to breathe, but at the same time to capture and to remove or stop the harmful particles, right? So in general, the proper use of the mask is critical, but also the choice, the selection that we make when we acquire those masks. And of course, there is a large variety from fabrics that we can have or we can make at home and can be recycled or can be reused, to other types of masks that we see in the market. But in general, my advice is, I think it's important for us to have that compromise between something that works and also something that really allow us to have a good breathing. And again, depending on the type of mask, to have it used in the proper way, whether it's a single use or it can be reused, depending on the type of material.
And can we expect the can mask for 2021?
Yeah, I think there is a large possibility. We are in a university, right? And we are not in the business of manufacturing. We create knowledge, and we in this particular case, we prototype, we have designs, and we have given proposals to industry. And this is where now we are going. We're partnering with a company for us to have this now mass produced. But there are many layers to this, right? This is not a simple process, and we require time, but I would say within a year, I think it's safe to say that it can be that we can see some of these masks in the market. And we're not the only ones. In Canada, in particular, there are many other centers that are looking into similar venues, right? So this is very likely to happen. Whether ours or others, I think we will see masks that are produced from cellulosic fibers that are renewable, sustainable, and can bring many, many different benefits.
Well, we hope we see them soon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Camila. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.